He hired her to help him perfect his most challenging role. But what she wrote on that piece of paper destroyed everything he thought he knew about suffering. Daniel Cross was Hollywood's golden boy. 6 feet tall, devastatingly handsome, with piercing blue eyes and a smile that had graced 1,000 magazine covers. At 28, he had everything. Blockbuster movies, designer clothes, a Malibu mansion, and millions of adoring fans. But Daniel had a problem that threatened to destroy his carefully crafted career. He couldn't cry on command. He couldn't access real pain. Despite years of method acting classes and countless roles, his performances always fell hollow when it came to genuine emotion. Critics had started to notice, calling his dramatic scenes beautiful but empty and technically perfect but emotionally vacant. His latest role, playing a grieving father in an Oscar-bait drama, was supposed to be his breakthrough into serious acting. But after weeks of failed attempts to tap into authentic anguish, his director had given him an ultimatum. Find your pain, Daniel, or find another career. That's when his acting coach mentioned Sofia Reyes. She was 26, petite with long, dark hair that often fell across her face like a curtain, hiding expressive brown eyes that seemed to hold depths of untold stories. Sofia had been mute since a childhood accident, not by choice, but by trauma so profound it had stolen her voice forever. What made Sofia unique wasn't just her silence. It was her uncanny ability to help others understand and express the deepest human emotions. She worked as a grief counselor, communicating through sign language, written notes, and an intuitive understanding of pain that seemed almost supernatural. Actors, writers, and artists sought her out when they needed to access authentic emotional truth. She doesn't speak, Daniel's coach had explained, but she understands suffering in ways most people never will. If anyone can teach you to find real pain, it's her. Daniel found Sofia at the community center where she volunteered, teaching sign language to children. She was patient, gentle, and completely unimpressed when he introduced himself. While everyone else in the room recognized the famous actor, Sofia simply looked at him with those knowing eyes and waited. "I need your help," Daniel said, feeling oddly vulnerable under her steady gaze. "I need to learn how to access real emotion for a role. I'll pay you whatever you want." Sofia studied him for a long moment, then reached for a notepad from her bag. Her handwriting was beautiful, flowing like poetry across the page. Asterisk, pain isn't something you learn. It's something you remember. What are you trying to remember? Asterisk, Daniel was taken aback. He'd expected a simple transaction. Hire the expert, learn the technique, book the role. But Sofia's question cut deeper than he'd anticipated. I don't know, he admitted. I've lived a pretty charmed life. Nothing really bad has ever happened to me. Sofia wrote again, asterisk, then we have work to do. But I don't want your money. If you're serious about understanding pain, you'll pay a different price. Asterisk, what kind of price? Her response made his blood run cold. Asterisk, you'll have to be willing to break. Asterisk, what followed were the strangest and most intense weeks of Daniel's life. Sofia didn't teach him acting techniques or emotional exercises. Instead, she took him to places he'd never imagined visiting. They went to children's hospitals, where Sofia volunteered reading to terminal patients. Daniel watched her communicate with dying kids through gestures and written words, her face radiating compassion, so pure it was almost painful to witness. He saw how these children, facing the unthinkable, still found reasons to smile, to hope, to love. They visited homeless shelters where Sofia helped serve meals. Daniel met people who had lost everything, jobs, families, homes, dreams, yet still maintained their dignity and humanity. He listened to their stories, really listened, perhaps for the first time in his privileged life. Sofia took him to grief support groups where she assisted as a counselor. He sat in circles with parents who had lost children, spouses who had buried their partners, survivors of tragedies that defied comprehension. Through Sofia's silent presence and gentle guidance, these broken people found ways to continue living, loving, hoping. At first, Daniel tried to approach these experiences like research for his role. He took mental notes, studied expressions, cataloged reactions. But Sofia saw through his professional detachment immediately. "You're watching pain," she wrote after their third hospital visit. Asterisk, you're not feeling it. Asterisk, How can I feel something I've never experienced? Daniel asked, frustrated. Sophia's response was swift and sharp. Asterisk, because you're human. Pain doesn't discriminate. It's waiting inside all of us. Asterisk, as the weeks passed, something unexpected began to happen. Daniel found himself genuinely caring about the people Sophia introduced him to. 8-year-old Marcus with leukemia became more than a case study. He became a friend whose courage inspired Daniel daily. Maria, the homeless veteran with PTSD, became someone Daniel worried about when it rained. But most surprising of all, Daniel found himself drawn to Sophia herself. Her silence, which had initially made him uncomfortable, became a refuge from his noisy, superficial Hollywood life. Her presence was calming, grounding, real in ways he'd forgotten existed. He began to look forward to their time together, not for the lessons, but for her. The way she smiled with her entire face when she was happy. The way her hands moved like dancers when she signed. The way she seemed to see straight through to his soul with those deep brown eyes. Daniel started visiting her even when they had no scheduled sessions. He learned basic sign language so he could communicate with her more directly. He brought her coffee and sat with her in comfortable silence. For the first time in his adult life, he felt truly seen by another person. "You're different now," Sophia wrote one evening as they sat in her small apartment, surrounded by her artwork, paintings and sketches that captured emotion with breathtaking beauty. "Different how?" Daniel asked. Asterisk, more real, less performance. Asterisk, the words hit him harder than any review ever had. Without realizing it, Sophia had been teaching him something far more valuable than how to cry on camera. She'd been teaching him how to be genuinely human. The breakthrough came during their visit to a hospice center. Daniel was sitting with an elderly man named Robert who was dying alone. No family, no visitors except for Sophia and her volunteer work. As Robert shared stories of his life, his regrets, his fear of being forgotten, something cracked open inside Daniel's chest. It wasn't the man's pain that broke him. It was a recognition of his own emptiness. Here was this dying stranger who had lived a full, imperfect, beautiful life, while Daniel had spent years avoiding any real connection, any genuine risk, any authentic emotion. The tears came suddenly, uncontrollably, not the pretty tears of a movie star, but the ugly, raw tears of a man confronting his own profound loneliness for the first time. Sophia was beside him instantly, her hand on his shoulder, her presence steady and comforting. She didn't try to stop his crying or offer empty platitudes. She simply stayed with him as he fell apart. Later, as they sat in her car outside the hospice, Daniel tried to explain what had happened. "I think I understand now," he said, his voice hoarse from crying. "It's not that I haven't experienced pain. It's that I've been running from it my whole life. Success, fame, money. It's all been a way to avoid feeling anything real." Sophia nodded and reached for a notepad. What she wrote next changed everything. Asterisk, "I know. That's why I agreed to help you. I saw the pain you were hiding from yourself." Asterisk, Daniel stared at the words, then at her. "How did you know?" Her response came slowly, carefully. Asterisk, "Because I recognize it. I've been hiding from my own pain for 6 years. Asterisk, "Your accident," Daniel said softly. "What really happened?" Sophia's hands trembled as she wrote, the words coming in fragments. Asterisk, "Car accident. I was driving. My little sister Emma was in the passenger seat. She was only 16. I was texting. Looked away for just a second. Asterisk. Daniel felt his heart stop as she continued. Asterisk, Emma died instantly. I survived without a scratch, but I haven't spoken since. Not because I can't, because I don't deserve to. Asterisk, the revelation hit Daniel like a physical blow. All this time, he'd been learning about pain and suffering from someone who carried the deepest guilt and grief imaginable. Sophia's entire life, her work with the dying, her volunteering, her ability to comfort others in their darkest moments, it was all an attempt to atone for one terrible moment. You think you're empty, she wrote, tears streaming down her face. Asterisk, but you're not. You're just scared. I'm the one who's hollow. I'm the one who destroyed something beautiful. Asterisk,